Hi guys, welcome back to Women, Wine and Wisdom. I'm Naomi.
I'm Jimmy.
And today we are going to be talking about green flags in a relationship.
Yes, or in dating. We realised that you liked the red flags video, so we thought we'd do something a bit more on the positive side and give you the green flags for relationships, dating, marriages. Yeah. Today we have a wonderful bottle of white gifted to us by the Good Wine Shop. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a Lira Pondal. I believe it's a Spanish wine.
Yeah.
The grape variety is Albarino, so I'm looking forward to this. It's 12.5%, which is actually kind of normal, standard. But yeah, can't wait to crack it open. Can't wait to have a sip. Apparently, it's paired well with seafood. But we'll let you know what our thoughts are.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to purchase a bottle, feel free to purchase it at the Good Wine Shop.
Yeah, the price is £19.50.
Yeah.
Okay, so, honey, let's talk green flags.
Let's go.
What's a green flag? Say.
A green flag. Somebody who I can trust.
Trust. Love that word.
Trust.
Love that word.
Somebody who you feel comfortable with, somebody who you can trust with your dreams, with your ambitions, and just trust that we're going to be on this journey together.
Yeah.
And not feel that, is he kind of gaslighting me? Is he trying to say he's going to do this, but
and then not
really not fulfill it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say a green flag for me is somebody that I know I can trust.
Yeah.
What about you?
One for me is a man of his word. And when I say a man of his word, I mean not the fact that you're just talking. I mean a man of his word in terms of he backed it up with action, because anybody can speak. It takes a real man to do what he says he's going to do.
Absolutely.
So for me, that is definitely one thing. Ooh.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I would sit, but Nay will try and cuss me and say, I didn't even cheers her.
Ooh. No, that's okay. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, my beautiful.
That's delicious.
It is. I like the fact that that takes over your mouth. But yeah, we're going to talk about it. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So I just think for me, a man of his word, but backed up with action.
100%.
Do you know something that's really funny that I heard on TikTok the other day, which I thought was really interesting? Because guys, you know I love TikTok. But basically we're saying that if a man ever tells you that his love language is words of affirmation, you should run. So if a man tells you that isn't that interesting though? Yeah. So like, if he tells you that his love language is words of affirmation, you should run, because you shouldn't chase a man that requires constant validation. Mm-hmm. But if a man says to you that his love language is acts of service, then that's fine, because it means he's actually a man of action and likes things done, which I thought was really interesting. It's a very interesting way to put a spin on it.
Interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah. Ladies, take note. So yeah, I think that's one green flag for me. But throwing it back to you.
Yeah. I mean, we say this quite often, but just someone who's got good communication.
Yes. That's always on 100%.
Yeah, that's always like a very
100%.
big key. I think that goes without saying these days when it comes to being in a relationship or dating somebody. You want to make sure that they have excellent communication.
Yeah.
That you can, and not just on a conversational level where you think, oh, you know, how was your day today? Oh, my day was great. It's
not
more
small
than
talk.
That. Not small talk.
Yeah, not small talk.
We want something with a bit more substance, something with a bit more depth. You know, if there is an issue, just knowing that he's got emotional intelligence as well. Mm-hmm. You know, how can we...
I was about to pick you with that point, so go ahead.
But how can we, you know, if we're having a dispute, if we're having an argument, and let's be honest, people, we are going to have arguments. Like, everyone's got their own opinions in life. And so you may approach a situation in a different way to the way somebody else might approach it. And so just because you disagree doesn't mean that you have to end up hating each other by the end of the night and sleeping on opposite ends of the bed. Mm-hmm. You should have emotional intelligence.
Sometimes you can fight and hold hands. So yeah, if me and my boyfriend are having like a little lover dispute, I'm like this. So we can hold hands and argue, even though we don't even argue like that. But yeah. I was going to piggy off one of your points.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, that was one. That's the second thing. There was one more thing that you said beforehand I thought was really interesting. I'm sure it will come back to me. But, it's come back to me already. Yeah. So in regards to communication, I know we talk about it all the time, but in order to communicate, you need to be able to actively listen.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think for me, active listening is one thing. And again, a partner that wants to listen to what you're saying, take what you're saying into consideration, act upon the feedback that it is you're giving them, and vice versa, you also have to do the same. So don't come for us in the TikTok comments where you're like, so if you know that video, I was like, oh yeah, we have to, I want my man to call me every night or text me every day. They're like, do you do the same? Yes, I do the same. So obviously it has to go on both ends. But again, sometimes it's a person that has the ability to put you first and knows when to put them first. So again, active listening, knowing when to communicate and how to communicate. Because when we're just talking about the arguments, for me personally, I prefer to take things away, digest it for a day or two maybe, write down my thoughts, and then I can come back and explain those thoughts to you. And in that conversation, I can actively listen because I'm a bit more removed from the situation. It's not so fresh. And I think that's one thing as humans, we always going to need to work on, which is active listening.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a good point. That's good.
Thanks, funny.
So another point for me, another green flag that I would say definitely look out for is somebody who is constantly your cheerleader, somebody who's always rooting for you and really trying to push you on your personal growth. So sometimes you might meet a guy who's jealous of you and be like, I don't know about that. I don't think you should be doing that. You know, or like you're trying to lose weight and he's constantly just like, oh, I don't think you should lose any more weight, or like, I don't think you should, I don't know, take that, you know, opportunity at the workplace or just something or another, but someone that's holding you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm just like, wait a minute. That situation sounds familiar.
No, but it happens to a lot of females where they're in situations, they're dating a guy or going out with a guy who is just constantly trying to hold them back and not allowing them to progress and move forward. And so I think it is a green flag.
Absolutely.
If a guy is constantly trying to push you, trying to motivate you and helping you get to your goals in life.
And do you know why it's a green flag? Because it shows a strong character. It shows a strong character in the man. It shows that a man that is not competing with you is willing to push you when you need to be pushed, who is not going to let you just talk your way out of things. So it shows good character traits. So I think that's so important.
Yeah, and a selfless man as well.
Yeah.
Not selfish.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Another green flag for me, again, is consistency. Yes. Find me the man that is consistent.
Yeah.
Don't start with things that you cannot continue on, from dating to relationships into marriage. I want what you was doing when we was 15. And now that we're telling, oh, you're so cute. Thank you. Please tell me I'm cute when I'm 60. So a man that's kind of consistent, but consistent in his habits, consistent in his approach to me in terms of, I know we always say, oh yeah, we want, you know, spontaneity. Yes, we do. But as humans, we also crave routine. So for example, let's take dealing with conflict. If I know that you deal with conflict with me in a certain way, I might be okay with that than you just surprising me with one day just shouting. I mean, obviously some days we have bad days, but you know what I mean. So just a man that's consistent in his habits, a man that's consistent in how he feels about me and what he does about those feelings. You know what I mean? I want personally, I want someone to show me every day.
I love that because I do feel like a lot of the times you'll be dating somebody and girl, they'll just fall by the wayside and they just won't do what they were saying that they were doing. You know, what they were promising you. You know, they were promising you the world. They were taking you on trips and on dates when you first met, and then now all of a sudden it's all fallen by the wayside. Yeah. So yeah, consistency.
Is that complacency? What happens? Why do you think this happens?
I think it's a mixture of things. I think complacency. I think also changes in circumstances within the relationship. When you start having kids, imagine you went from it just being you two to you having maybe 5 kids, a mortgage, a dog.
Do you see my face when you said 5? It was the shock that took me first.
Listen, some people are on their way to having their 5th kid.
It was the shock that took me first. Yeah.
So it's
shout out to the amazing mothers though, but 5 kids is a lot.
Absolutely. But it's, you know, I think if you don't make time for each other, then you can easily slip away from that. So I think it's a mixture of things. I think complacency is also an option. Sometimes people do get very comfortable in the situation that they're in and they don't want to do anything more because they now have got the prize.
Yeah, and the thing is, and this is why you should always be willing to walk away.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, there's obviously times where things happen. But at the same time, if something is no longer meeting your situation or your circumstance, you have to be willing to walk away. And I think we said it before.
100%.
People value what they know they can lose.
Exactly.
And the thing is, when you know you can lose something, you treat it with much better respect.
100%.
When you know the value of something, you treat it with much better respect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think again, it's really important for both men and women to always be willing to walk away, really, even if you ain't really walking anywhere.
No, exactly.
Call their bluff.
Are there any other red flags that you feel are, green flags
Mm-hmm.
that you think are very important?
That are very important. Yeah, shared values, shared morals. Yeah. I know this will be one that you'll talk about because I know you love it, so I'll let you talk about that one. I know, but shared morals, shared goals, shared family vision. I think that's a big green flag because when you're on the same wavelength, I think it's a lot easier. When your families come from the same background, things can be quite easy. Don't get me wrong though, there's still culture clashes in the culture. I've got some, I've even got some examples because some families might be extremely traditional and some might be more liberal, and that in itself can have its own issues. But how you navigate that between you again goes back to the communication part. But I do think shared morals, shared goals, shared values is super, super important and is a massive green flag.
Yeah.
If they are similar or they are on the right path.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. Yeah. Green flag is definitely shared values, shared goals. It's really all about establishing the right foundation. And so I feel like when you do have the same shared vision of where you want to take your future, or where you want to go in life, then having those, having the same shared goals and values will build a solid foundation for you guys in order to do that. So it's a good place to start when you're dating someone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like we're on the same vibe. I'm just trying to think there's another green flag that I just had in my head. Hold on.
I had a few. Let me see if anyone's.
Okay. Yes. So another green flag from me would be it sounds so crazy, but you both having your own separate lives. You both having your own separate life, I think, is very important. I think when you as a man have your own life, you have your own friends, you have your own hobbies. As a woman as well, you have your own friends, your own hobbies. You're not everybody wants theirs obsessed and clingy, but you have other things that also drive you outside of your relationship. So you don't put so much pressure on the relationship to, you want to make your relationship thrive, but you put less pressure on the relationship because you have other external relationships that you can continue to build, mold, that can pour into you, that can help with that relationship. I think it's super important to have the time to miss each other. Yeah. So that's why I think it's really important. And I think it's even more important for women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like as a woman, when you have those external relationships, you don't force yourself to like one person because you have other areas in which you can be whole. Yeah. So yeah, that's a green flag. So having your own individual lives.
I like that. So another green flag I would say is making sure that you and your partner both have, or finding somebody who has flexibility. I feel like in life there is constant changes, and what you were like 5 years ago is not necessarily the same person that you are today. Yeah. And I think in life things will constantly adapt and change. You may be given a new job opportunity in, I don't know, Nigeria, or in another part of the world. It could be Australia, it can be Singapore, and you want to make sure that you're with somebody who allows for flexibility to fit into your relationship, so that you're not constantly fighting on compromising and somebody having to give up their opportunities. So I think it's quite important to be able to have flexibility in your relationship. So I think that is a green flag.
Yeah, essentially be adaptable.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's interesting because I think for your relationship to thrive, you need to be a successful individual yourself. So being a flexible person, and even when you go to work, the job description, are you flexible, are you adaptable? It's because we know there are constant changes. So I really like that point. I think it's very important to be flexible and adaptable given any circumstances. Do you think you're flexible or adaptable at the moment? Like in this current period of your life?
I'd like to say I am.
Okay.
I don't feel like I'm so tunnel visioned on things. I do feel like I'm becoming a lot more open. And I think when you're in a relationship, you do have to have that open gateway for flexibility. You have to have room for compromise.
Yeah.
If you don't have room for compromise, then you're going to constantly be at odds and at loggerheads. So because one person is going to say, I want to do it this way, and the other person is going to say, I want to do it that way. And I think when you are dating in a masculine man, 9 times out of 10, he's going to have a vision for where he wants to take the family. And it's whether or not you let him lead or whether you're going to fight him on that.
That's if you're dating a masculine man, by the way.
Yeah. So it's all about understanding, you know, what roles and positions you're going to play, but also goes back to the trust aspect of it, making sure that you can trust your guy to, you know, take the family to the right places and not, you know, like mess up the situation in the family, but also the communication aspect of it. I think even though you want your man to lead, you want to make sure that he's having adequate communication with you in order to have that reassurance that you trust what he's about to do. Because I think sometimes when you can apply logic to the situation, you're less likely to react on an emotional basis because you trust that he is going to do the right thing because logically it makes sense. So
it's difficult, that one, because I feel like logically and emotionally sometimes we feel like we're using logic, but we're actually still using emotion as women.
It happens. But I think in both aspects, I think whilst men are known to be a lot more logical, sometimes they react on emotion.
Of course they do. Yeah, absolutely.
So it can go either way for sure. I think, but I think when I say he's reacting on logic, I mean if he's sitting down with you and having a conversation with you, and he says, for example, okay, so I want us to move to, just going to take a random country, but Singapore, let's say, and he sits you down and you go through the steps of, okay, we're going to move on this date. I'll have a house by this date. We can move all the kids in by this date. My job starts on this date, blah, blah, blah. That is logic. So you're logically going through the timeline of how things are going to work out. And if he's having those communications with you and making it very clear and open, then I do believe that, you know, you're likely to understand it from a logical perspective. Your emotion aspect then comes in if you start saying things like, oh, but, you know, I'm going to miss the dog. Don't want the dog, you know.
Why has it always got to go back to the pet?
it's always
it always goes back to the pet.
Do you know what? Because yesterday I met a Frenchie. It was so cute.
Can you imagine?
It was so cute. It had blue eyes and it was a baby, and I was just like, oh.
Was it a French bulldog? Yeah, I'm sure it was super cute.
And it was grey. It's just really cute.
It was pretty.
So I'm going to be mentioning dogs all throughout.
Sorry. Another green flag for me will be a man that shows up when he's needed. Yeah. I feel like if you're like, you expect your friends to show up when they're needed. I feel like if you're in the dating stage, and he shows up for you when you're feeling down, let's say you're PMSing, your period's about to come, and he kind of shows up for you there, you know what I mean? Random flowers because he's away. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
The warm hot water bottle.
A bottle of wine just because.
A bottle of wine from the good wine shop.
Yeah, just because, you know? So yeah, I feel like a man that shows up when he's needed, is a green flag. And I mean, to be honest, again, in the opposite as well, a woman that shows up when she's needed, obviously you want to get that right in the dating phase before you get to marriage, because if they can't show up for you beforehand, trust me, honey, marrying them is not going to do you any better.
No, 100%. Here. Cheers to that. Should we cheers to that?
Yeah, we should cheers to that. They're not going to change.
They're not going to change. So yummy.
It is really yummy, isn't it?
It's lovely. I do like it. And it's so citrusy. Like I can really taste a lot of different, like apples, pears.
Different notes. Yeah, just coming through. Yeah.
Really
but it's got that aftertaste. It leaves that aftertaste in my mouth, but it's a nice one.
Yeah.
Because normally sometimes you get like a bitter aftertaste from wine. I don't get that with this at all.
I would definitely recommend this.
Yeah.
Definitely
I'm like,
recommend this.
would you do it with a cheese board?
I can see myself doing it with a cheese board.
Can you?
I can definitely. You know, with a few little like fruits on your cheese board, some nuts, just a few different.
It's giving pretzels.
Pretzels.
Yeah. Something like that. It's giving like, I want like salted pretzels.
Yeah.
Right,
so definitely if you've got like a few girls coming over, you want to have something light and fresh, especially in the summertime, guys, definitely a bottle of this.
This is definitely the one for you.
This is the one.
Yeah. And you know we gave the Czech wine a high rating, so we give this one a high rating too.
Very high.
Cheers. I'm just trying to think, are there any other like green flags that obviously stand out? A man with empathy. you kind of mentioned, you kind of touched on that before, but a person with empathy, let's not even say a man and a woman with empathy. I think some skills, emotional intelligence, empathy need to be there if you want your relationship to be successful, and not even just your immediate relationship with your wife or husband or partner, but actually your kids too. So again, it's about seeing like longevity in when you start dating and the end point, which is obviously marriage with the kids, if that's what you want.
If that's what you want, exactly. I feel like, it's really important. You want a man who knows how to be able to at least be able to lower his ego and just know, okay, I'm going to show up for my missus. I'm going to be there, you know? So I definitely think that that's a green flag. So I agree.
Do you know what I was going to say off your point, though?
Go on, girl.
It's a bit of a red flag, so we're going to flip it and make it a green flag.
She's bringing red into the green.
I was going to say a man that does not apologize, or a person that does not apologize. So if we flip that on its head, I think knowing when to say, I'm sorry, is a green flag to me.
It's a green
flag. Because again, the ego, the pride can come in, and you might want to hold your ground. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I know. And that's the thing. They say like a lot of men struggle to say sorry.
Yeah.
So, a guy that can say sorry, I think is a great thing. Yeah. I think it's a green flag, essentially. Just knowing how to say, listen, babe, I'm so sorry.
I also think it's a green flag for women too. And the reason why I'll say this year, let me embarrass myself small. So I remember being younger, right? And I was a witch.
What?
I would never...
Girl, don't call yourself a witch.
No, I'm a witch. You should in order to get me to say sorry. And again, this is actual like bad character flaws, I would say, from when I was younger. I would just struggle to apologize. So I think, because obviously we just said one for men, it's actually also a green flag for women, in terms of knowing when to apologize and how to apologize. Yeah. Saying I apologize and I'm sorry are two different types of apologies. Yeah. And I think back in the day, I used to struggle to say I'm sorry because I'm like, I'm not wrong. Yeah. And with time, age, growth, I realized actually, Jimmy, you can be wrong at times. And it's actually better. You learn more from apologizing and saying sorry. Yeah. But before, I was like, you're going to get blood from a stone before I say sorry to you. Do you know what I mean?
I think
I think it's a green flag when you know when to be empathetic, when to apologize, and when to just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to piggyback off of that, it's all about taking accountability.
Yes.
It's just knowing to just say, okay, I've done wrong here and I'm going to admit to my mistakes.
Yeah.
So, I totally agree. That's a really good point, actually. Another green flag.
Oh.
A guy who... we mentioned it on the red flag as being a bad thing, but a green flag version of it would be a guy who introduces you to his family. Come on, girls.
Yeah, show me off.
Show me off. Introduce me to your family and friends. Don't let him have you in the background, just, being somebody just kept in a distance. You want to make sure that he's bringing you around people. It's nice when you can go to family functions together, go to weddings together. He's introducing you as his missus, as his partner. That to me is a green flag.
Future wife,
and my missus.
I completely agree. I think that's
definitely a green flag.
It's definitely a green flag. And I think if he isn't, again, because we've had some comments on this on TikTok, which I think is just so funny, and Instagram. But if he isn't showing you off, I think you need to ask why. And that goes back to communication, active listening, and being self-aware. Is there something that maybe you're missing that you are not doing and your partner doesn't feel that it's time to show her off yet? Is it because, he kind of wants to change the way in which you dress? Maybe you're dressing too provocatively and he doesn't want to bring that around his family. So again, I completely agree, but it's also about being self-aware enough to know, actually, are there things I'm doing? Number 2, is there a conversation to be had here? Because if he's hiding you, there should be a conversation to be had.
Well, I just don't think you should be in a relationship. But why is he hiding you? And ultimately, if you know that if you can see from the offset that I'm not somebody who you're going to want to bring around your family, is that also you indirectly saying that you won't marry me?
Yeah, sometimes they don't see it though. Because the thing is, and this goes back to the whole social media kind of debate in terms of when we see women and they like half naked women, just because they're liking all those posts doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to bring them home. We might like this for now, and this might look good for now, and this goes back to us looking good to them just for now. So is it a combination of just bin it, or is it is this going anywhere? Because I feel like sometimes we miss that conversation, and and again, I'm hasty. So if I was to just skip that conversation, then I might miss what it is that I need to do for this relationship to work. Potentially.
You see
what I mean?
Yeah, but I also feel like if you're, if I'm in a relationship with you, you've chosen to make me your girlfriend.
Yeah.
All those kind of insecurities, uncertainties are the things that should have been had prior to you making me your girlfriend, because you now flagging it that you don't actually like the way I dress.
Yeah. I think
this is like, I'm sorry, am I going to start changing the way I dress now?
The thing is, a lot of women do.
But are they comfortable with it?
I think they are.
I don't think so. I feel like a lot of people will then feel like I'm changing myself to fit into the mold of what you want.
I think when you decide to be in a relationship, you're both compromising and to fit into this mold.
I agree. I mentioned that earlier. Compromise is going to be necessary and flexibility is going to be necessary. It's the way
you stood up in the back. You agree?
You didn't stand up.
Yeah, but you did
well, what's your thoughts?
The compromise is key. Ultimately, before you get into the relationship, for a man, you're trying to peacock, you're trying to stick the chest out.
Yeah.
But then once you acquire a missus, then just like, okay, you can calm down, value yourself more, because you are in that relationship where you're projecting that positive energy towards each other. So then you don't think, okay, let me put on this super bright shirt to attract. It's like, let me not deflect the attention, and I'm going to get it, but it's like, I don't need to do extra.
Yeah, to do it.
I'm feeling already enough purpose and fulfilled enough from the energy that
you're getting.
Yeah.
And it goes to the Kiki Palmer thing. Have you seen it on?
Oh gosh, we have seen it.
You've seen it. What do you think about that? I'm throwing down the back. Controversy.
Do you know what? There's I don't even know where to start or stop with this. I mean, there's so many points that you can raise with this. She's somebody who has obviously just had a baby, and I think from speaking
snap back on point though.
No, she looks amazing. But like when you speak to a lot of women who have just had babies, they always mention that they feel very uncomfortable in their body, and your body's never the same. And so for her to feel that she can dress in that way and feel confident and radiate it like as she after having a baby, it's an amazing thing, and it's so inspiring. And I'm sure lots of people will kind of look up to that and think, wow, if she can do it, I can too. It doesn't just stop at the point in which you've had a baby. You can still look great, and you can still look great, and you can still kind of go back to the way you were prior to having a baby. I guess like one of the comments that I saw that he had made was that he's not so much upset with the dress, it was more the fact that she's someone's mother. And so like if we're looking at it from that perspective, it then becomes a thing of, do I think that's inappropriate? I personally, I don't think I would do that. But if that was
I don't think you would do that anyway.
Yeah, but this is what I was going to say.
I wouldn't do that anyway.
If I never did it prior to having a child, I wouldn't do it after having a child. Whereas I feel like she did it before having a child, and so should she stop doing it after the fact?
Do you think things change when you become a wife and a mother for women? Do we expect things to change for men when they become husbands?
Oh, that is a really good question.
You see what I mean? And my personal opinion is I actually do. So I expect, for example, like.
But it goes back to the point of flexibility and compromise, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I asked earlier. I'm like, where does the compromise come from? Like, where do we meet in the middle? Because actually, there are many men that don't want their women to go out half naked. They will say it all the time. I'll like it on Instagram, but she won't be my wife. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, this is the mother of his child. And I struggle with this because I'm like, you're a boyfriend. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not a husband. Yeah. So be careful in terms of what you're saying. At the same time, I'm like, you are actually a mother. You are actually, I don't know how old she is, to be honest, so let me not even throw that out there. Yeah. But like, I feel like with time, you want to become more graceful. You want to age beautifully, right? You want to age well. And I feel like when you're young and dressing skimpy is very different to when you're an adult and dressing skimpy. So where do you meet in the middle? Yeah. What's the compromise?
What is the compromise?
Because there are so many men that will tell you, I wouldn't let my partner go out dressed like that. And the same way I would expect my partner to make compromises when, for example, like boys' holidays. I'm not saying don't go on boys' holidays when like we're married, but I'd prefer you to go with your married friends than your single friends. Yeah. Because they may potentially egg you on. I mean, you never know if anybody...
But it kind of goes back to the point that we've made earlier. I guess we've echoed it throughout the whole episode, but it's all about communication. Because the first thing I was thinking was, oh, do you both not live in the same house then? Do you have those conversations and say,
that's the first thing I thought too.
Yeah, you know, like what was discussed? What was kind of the boundaries that you set in place between the pair of you? You know, and I think that plays a massive part in it as well, establishing your boundaries, because I don't think it doesn't sound like
which is a green flag, by the way. Boundaries
is certainly a green flag. But yeah, it's like, do you set out your boundaries? Do you establish what is like okay for you, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with?
Yeah. Do you know what's so funny? Because we can always have these conversations and we can obviously try and make it as black and white as possible. Unfortunately, in this area, there's just a lot of grey patches.
So many grey.
That's the thing.
Because it's but also a lot of subjectivity, because it's like what I would do is not necessarily what she would do and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so how do I make an informed decision on something? Because he might turn around and say, because if anything, I felt that what was inappropriate was the way she was hugging up Usher.
Yeah,
that to me was the
inappropriate part
of it.
Okay, cool.
I didn't realize that it was going to be, you know.
I've got something to say about that. And this is what I'm talking about, grey areas. I don't know how tall or short she is, right? But I've actually been pulled up on this before, actually, when I went to hug somebody and I had my hand on the person's shoulders. And they were like, when you go to hug men now, you hug them sideways on. And but the thing is, I'm tall.
Yeah.
So everyone to me is actually, like, most of the time, you come up to me, I'm coming to your shoulder because do you see what I mean? That's what's probably normal for me. So even if I hug you from the side, I'm probably still going to be at your shoulder.
Yeah, no, fair.
So again, to me, that would be a little bit of a grey area, because it's like, actually, I would hug anybody.
Yeah, from
like that, from that standpoint, because I'm tall, so my hand would naturally be on your shoulders.
Yeah.
But some men are like, no, you hug them around the body, like on the side, you know.
Yeah.
So there are just too many grey areas.
Yeah, there are loads.
If you were shorter, you might hug them around the waist, but if you're tall.
But also it's circumstantial. I think a lot of the time, sometimes the decisions we have to make is based on the circumstance and based on what card we've been dealt. If you're a taller person, irrespective of what they say, it's an appropriate way to hug a man. If you're taller and the comfortable position for you is to hold them around the shoulder, then that's what you're gonna do.
That's literally.
And how can you take offense to that?
It goes back to what you were saying in the beginning as the green flag as trust. Because I believe that if they trust their partners enough, you might be like, whatever. Yeah. I know they're not doing nothing. I was having this conversation at work and we were talking about, so two of the guys were like, there's absolutely no way that my wife can go on holiday with her girls. But you want to do boys' holidays?
No, it's such a red flag.
Absolutely no way. He's like, but it's because you have trust issues and you don't trust what your wife is going to be doing on holiday. Whereas I feel like if we was to go on a girl's holiday, I feel like our partners would be like, yeah, live. Do what you want to do, like live your life. But again, I feel like it's a trust aspect.
Yeah, 100%. That plays a massive part in it. And it is a green flag if your partner trusts you. Just to remind you.
Yes, yeah. You should be able to, again, have a life outside of your partner. So if you want to go on the girls' holiday, do it. Devil emoji.
That's the thing. You want to be able to, because like, you know, the green and the importance of highlighting the green flags is the fact that, you know, if your partner trusts you, for example, to go on holiday, then you are able to still live your life. You're still able to have a sense of independence. The red flag aspect of it is just the constant arguing, the constant, you know, like just combativeness.
Anyone that, if you're constantly arguing, there's something wrong there. No. Don't get me wrong, there's arguments to be disagreements.
Yeah.
And how you have those arguments are important.
Yeah.
If I need to start shouting at you, I know you're already not the one for me.
Yeah. It's just long. It just shouldn't have to get to that point.
And I shouldn't be shouting from any, like, you shouldn't be shouting. I shouldn't be shouting. And no one else has the dog.
It happens. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't shout. I shout at times.
You actually do. You actually do. But the thing is, I feel like...
Not my partner though. But
yeah, I feel like there's... You can tell when you're upset, but are you actually shouting? I don't know.
Yeah, no. But that's the thing. I feel like... Going a bit off topic now. But when I have shouted in the past, I do feel like it's probably been... You don't sometimes realise that your voice has been elevated. Mm-hmm. I think what you have to realise is that you're actually in an emotional... state when you're talking at that point. So you're just thinking, I'm just trying to get my words out of frustration, and so now it's, you know, I'm probably sounding louder than what I would usually. But then I also elevate my voice sounds louder when I start getting giddy and excited and I'm drunk. So it can happen in many different ways. It's not just when you're
I don't think I shout though.
You know?
No. The thing is, I'm quite calm, crazy erratic. Yeah. And then calm.
But the thing is, for the most part, like, because a lot of people, like a lot of my friends will say they've never seen me shout.
Really?
100%.
I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I'm actually kind of not.
No. I don't think I care enough half the time.
I mean, that sounds like me pretty much all the time.
Yeah, like
that sounds like me pretty much all the time.
I'm just not. Yeah, like very few people actually say that they've heard me shout.
So interesting, because you said I've never shouted at my partner. Me ever.
No.
Me actually ever. Because I always say, like, none of us are dogs.
No.
So, and do you know what's but the thing is, this actually, for me, it's not even about a partner relationship. This is everybody. So even my mum, I'm like, as soon as she starts shouting, my brain will switch off completely. Because why are you shouting? Why are you shouting? It's just anybody, to be honest. It's like, this conversation is going absolutely nowhere.
No.
Because once you start shouting, you've actually lost control.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to say something that's going to annoy me. I'm going to then, my temperature is going to be high. My temper is going to be raised. And we're not doing that.
Yeah. It's pointless. But anyway, we're going off topic.
Okay.
So, back to green flags. But yeah, do you have any other green flags that you feel like need to be mentioned or feel like you should raise?
Your intuition doesn't lie. If you're, that's a green flag. If your body and your mind is telling you that you're at peace with somebody, sometimes just accept that. And again, don't self-sabotage yourself and be like, no, there's something wrong in this situation, and overthinking. Shout out to my people that overthink. But we want to wind down, enjoy that phase, trust your intuition, be in tune with yourself. And I think that would actually ultimately, you kind of know if someone's the one for you, or there's a few the ones, but one of them is for you or not. So I think for me, the last green flag would be trust your intuition.
100%. I think that's a good point. That is a good one to land on, because I do feel like you should trust your intuition. Yeah. I do feel like that is a green flag. People need to stop running away from what they feel like their gut is telling them, because a lot of the time your gut is right. Yeah. And so go for it. Just do it.
Yeah, it might be your mind that's playing tricks.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, and if you have any green flags that you think we've missed, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Absolutely. Obviously, comment on Instagram, comment on TikTok, and let us know what green flags work for you, what ones you think we've missed. And also let us know what other topics you want us to be talking about.
Exactly. And don't forget to purchase the wine at the Good Wine Shop.
Yes, thoroughly enjoyable.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Cheers.